And the second thing I see is that Paul is saying is that stay away from immorality. Is that in our world, we have all this immoral things. We have TV, we have magazines. You walk into Walmart and you see tabloids, and you hear people just walking down a city street by the church. You hear people bickering. You hear people listening to profane music and things like that. And this is what Paul's really saying is stay away, not even a hint, as in Scripture it says. And then it says the three specifically things that stick out to me is impurity, immoral talk or speech, and greed. And it's hard with the American dream. If you see life, you see the American dream. And Eastern culture like Japan or Asia doesn't have this thriving, just I want to be on top, I want to be Bill Gates, I want to be rich, because that's where happiness comes from. They have it because there's a lot of Americans over in Japan, but a lot of their community is basically to embetter the human race, not to embetter just yourself. And there's this selfish greed that I can have everything, and that's what Paul is saying is stay away from these things, because these things lead to destruction. These lead to down a path you don't want to go. And so it says, stay away from impurity. And then in verse 5 it says, no such person has an inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. In verse 7, Paul writes, therefore do not be partakers with them. And so that brings me to the last point I see in the Scripture, is that we need to walk in the light. By doing so, we expose the darkness. We're not in the darkness. And if you're walking in darkness, if I turn the lights down low, I couldn't see you. I couldn't see the kids, and the kids might like it because they're in darkness. Their actions don't have to be accounted for. But when you're in truth, it's natural to be exposed. It's natural to look in the mirror because you can see the mirror. But in the darkness, the mirror doesn't matter because you can't embetter yourself in the darkness. You can embetter yourself in the light. You can live in the light because the light is very powerful. The light exposes things, and that's why Jesus came to be the light of the world. And when I think of the verse 14, it says, for this reason, it says, awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. I have this picture because in Montana, they have ski slopes, and many of you probably have been skiing in some area of the country. If not here, they have a few ski slopes, but in Colorado or somewhere. And so they have ski slopes, and they close the ski slopes when the snow starts melting because the bears wake up. And a lot of ski slopes close early because the bears will wake up at different times. And so if a bear wakes up, a grizzly bear especially, it's scary to be a skier because it's like fast food. And so and the bear likes it. The bear likes to come and feed on whatever it can get. And a lot of times when there's snow, it's hard to eat a lot of the plants. It's hard to find deer because the deer are in the valley, or the people are. And so when I think of waking up from your slumber, I think of a bear. And so many of you need to wake up from your immorality. Maybe something is in your life that you need to stop, something that you've known about, something that you just can't get away from. Maybe that's some preference that some way you've been treating people, your attitude. You need to wake up and change that attitude. You need to change how you've been treating your spouse, or the ones you love, or youth, or people that you've really just had a bad taste in your mouth because they dress a certain way, or they don't fit your style of worship or the style of preaching that you think should be that way. And so you have these images and things, and you see worship and everything in a certain way. You see it with almost tainted. So you need to wake up from these things. You need to wake up from your attitudes. You need to wake up because Christ did ministry in many different ways. And Paul is writing this to say, wake up. There's not just one way to do something. There's not just one way to be relevant to your society, to your culture.